what any repairs were going to be done as far as the space shuttle main engines or the external tank or the rocket or the bays or the external solid rocket boosters, how they interface into everything. So that's what I was doing. And then when I finished that job, I went into working on the International Space Station, building and designing and working and installing their communication systems, S-band, KU-band, all that stuff, bringing you high quality definition pictures down to the earth. That's kind of like the cut stuff I've been doing. And this work was very, very intense on many, many levels. From the standpoint, it hammered me like samurai steel as far as solving real hard problems on a regular basis. So when I retired from this job, so to speak, I tried to figure out, what am I going to do with myself now that I'm retired? I had this gift for solving hard problems, so I said, my other passion, of course, is health and healing. I've been into that field for the last 40 some odd years. I started back in the latter part of the 70s. And I spent most of my money while doing my job studying health, nutrition, all the various types of modalities for healing. And what I wanted to do was figure out what is the ground floor challenge that we're up against. And one of them was understanding how water is structured, understanding how that, in essence, maintains our health. And that goes back in the first part of the 80s. I was building technology to make water wetter, and people could not comprehend, what do you mean make water wetter? You lost your mind, water is already wet. How are you going to make it wetter? I said, I'm going to break the surface tension, structure the water so that it can enter the cell easier. I'm figuring that that is the key for basically stopping the aging process. And so that's where I started working along those lines, trying to understand how this was happening. But as time goes on, I found out in order to really have your health, the earth has got to vibrate properly. That's really where it starts. We've got to make the planet vibrate to support life itself. And then as years go by, I'm finding out that our planet is severely toxified. It's not just radiation, but there is now with our high technologies in Wi-Fi and computers and high definition televisions, all these energies are impacting our health in some way, shape, or form. So that's why I got deep into quantum physics, to understand how we can possibly use that science in order to solve some of these problems. Because I love my iPhone, I love the tablets, I love high definition televisions, and I don't want to see them go anywhere. So is there a way I can neutralize this energy and this radiation such that it supports health? And that's what I've been doing for the last many years, let's put it that way, and have been successful at solving those kinds of problems. Now, one of the main challenges I found out when this started back in March of 2011, there was this major catastrophe over in Japan. There was a gigantic explosion, and at the Fukushima Daiichi nuclear power plant. And basically, this is what happened. Units, this is reactors 1, 2, 3, and 4. And this one exploded, this one exploded. It concussed and blew the windows and doors off of number 2. And the hydrogen just leaked out there. But whenever this one blew up, it leaked hydrogen into 4 and blew its roof off. And I'm saying, wait a minute. Immediately I saw that that was a dangerous situation. And everybody else, oh, don't worry. Everything is going to be just fine. We will contain this. But what really went down, as you can see, these fuel rods actually could not be contained, and as a result, they went critical. And they just went right into, especially, I guess you could say, reactor number 1, 2, and 3, the fuel rods went critical and melted through the first containment and the second containment, and they're starting to go into the ground, into the groundwater, and then out into the ocean. That was a major catastrophe from my perspective, because I'm thinking about my friendly little microbes. By the way, that's just one of my other side hobbies, is microbiology, along with everything else. And what happened, I'm concerned about these little microbes because they live in the first 30 feet of the ocean. And these guys are probably the largest biomass on the planet. And one of the things they do that is extremely important is they produce oxygen. They oxygenate the ocean water, and they oxygenate the atmosphere. That's the stuff we breathe. And as a result, they are under the impression that they are building and helping us with putting this whole thing together. This right here is a picture of the ocean right outside of Fukushima. This is the ocean in boiling mode. This was a picture taken back in August of 2013. And whenever I saw this happening, I knew my ocean out there, the Pacific Ocean, is having a challenge. Now, I've been working with these hyper geniuses from around the country, and I have one guy, his name is Peter Shastri, and we were working on trying to get some of his products tested for neutralizing radiation. And we were working with Sandia Laboratories down in New Mexico. And these are my world-class experts. And when I took the product there and we were trying to negotiate how, where, when we could test and verify this nuclear remediation mineral blend, and I was telling them about what I saw and what I was experiencing, what I was feeling as a result of this, and they were saying, oh, don't worry. The solution to pollution is dilution. Ocean is so vast, you don't have nothing to worry about. My heart sunk to the floor. This is my world-class experts, we in trouble. And I'm saying, oh, what am I going to do here? I need their support, and they're telling me there's no problem. And I knew that wasn't true, because going back to the phytoplankton, this kind of activity can upset their life. And if the phytoplankton can't produce oxygen, that means the fish are going to have a hard time breathing. That means eventually we're going to have a hard time breathing. And what's going on, not only is the oxygen important for carrying the life force itself around the planet, it is very important for creating something called the ozone layer. And a healthy ozone layer is something around 300 Dobson units, that's dBs. And if it gets lower than that, that means cosmic rays and other radiation from space gets down to our level. And that's where a lot of cataracts, a lot of diabetes, a lot of heart disease will start to kick in when we're getting too much radiation, because radiation and creation are highly antagonistic to each other. In other words, it actually degrades the function of how your genetics work. And if your genetics is in order, it's hard for you to appear healthy. It's hard for you to have that bright, shiny look about you. It ages you rapidly, in other words. So, whoa. That's what happens whenever you have too much radiation in the ocean. And that is something that we don't want to really, really experience. And these are other kinds of issues and genetic problems that are happening to the seafood as well. This right here happens to be a shark in Australia around the Barrier Reef. And I've heard that most sharks do not get cancer. Well, something is changing seriously out there. Now this right here, I am told that there is the possibility that this truly can exist. But to me, I've never seen anything that looked like that in all my life. And I notice here that my charts have been kind of like rearranged. But the bottom line is, getting back to the point of radiation, cesium-137, it has a tendency to degrade the endothelial cells on the inner lining of your veins, capillaries, and arteries. So you can find, if you get too much radiation in your system, you can be subject to strokes and heart attacks and other congestive heart failure problems. Iodine-131, 139, that can replace the healthy iodine that you would normally take, and that can cause major problems. Strontium-90 in the radioactive mode, it acts like calcium, so it goes into bones and degrades the bone marrow. So that will impede or impact your ability to make good quality blood, good quality stem cells, good quality immune components. So we definitely want to do something to actually eliminate and remediate background radiation out of our system. Because if you take, for instance, back in February of this year, the Japanese had a robot going into reactor number 2 to try to figure out what was going on, and they built a robot that would last at least 10 hours. That was their plan. But when they got it down to there in the bottom of the reactor number 2, it only lasts about 1 or 2 hours.
Wow.
And they calculated that they had somewhere in the neighborhood of 530 sieverts of radiation. To kind of give you an idea, a half a sievert to 1 sievert will give you an acute radiation sickness issue. If you get 3 or 4 sieverts of this energy, that's going to cause death within 40. I'm saying how, and I noticed that I had read a report, basically, that they had cranes trying to pump water to keep the fuel rods from going critical. And the cranes couldn't even stand it. They were crumbling and falling apart. So that's something called the Wigner effect that's taking hold. Radiation cannot, in essence, be contained. I know we've been led to believe that. So that means something is going on throughout our system. Now, one of the main things I want to get into your mind and to understand, because the background radiation is so high across the whole of the United States, we've got to become hypervigilant to keep our health, our mind, our body intact. And that means we have to find ways to keep the levels from accumulating too high. When we're talking about levels like this, it would be like you going to the airport and going through the airport scanner all day long and still trying to survive. You're going to wear yourself out really fast if you don't find a way to keep those radiation levels down. This right here, Circulate, is an excellent, I call it the ultimate nitric oxide nutrition. And the main thing here that I liked about this was that the airway relaxation, maintaining your heart, maintaining your blood vessels, intestinal movement, all of these things are going to be impacted tremendously whenever you have too much radiation accumulating in your system. And keep in the forefront of your mind, anytime we get anywhere from a half to 1 sievert, that's going to mean you're going to have acute radiation sickness symptoms. And those could be wherein you're just walking and all of a sudden feeling super fatigued. You could be combing your hair or brushing your teeth. Why are my muscles so sore? And that kind of thing can be going on. And after a while, you might find that you might have loose teeth for no apparent reason. You might find that your gums are easily bleeding whenever you're brushing your teeth or something like that. Those are things that can happen, and I'm seeing people are complaining this way because I'm getting calls, because I'm a medical intuitive, by the way. And I get a lot of calls from around the country to help people figure out what's happening with them when their doctors are having a hard time. I'm sick, but I don't know what's happening and my doctors can't help me. I will intuitively go in and try to get to the root cause. In a lot of cases, it turns out that they got struck with some radiation. And we've got to figure out ways and strategies to clean that up. this is, I believe, one of those types of products that can assist in that process. And the main thing that's happening is that we're getting major inflammation, as Dr. Sandra was talking about. And that seems to be the main cause for just about all of the main challenges that we're experiencing in our body, mind, and spirit. All of these diseases have a central core of inflammation associated with. So if we can find ways to maintain, control, and keep inflammation at bay, we have a better chance of getting our problem solved. And that's what I've been working on, is mainly trying to figure out how do we shut off the fountain of radiation from Fukushima. And once we do that, then we want to help our scientists here in the United States understand that our nuclear power plants are contributing to the problem. And because after about 15 years, radiation will find its way through things like lead, through concrete, through glass, things that we think in general are going to protect you. Those things will wear out. The radiation will just eat right through it, so to speak. So these are the main ingredients. And the beautiful thing about this product here, Circulate, is that it is improving your circulation. And that is one of the main challenges with radiation, is that it jacks up your circulatory process. Do you understand what I'm saying? Okay? And so what the other thing that was really, really brilliant about the Calibrate product, when I was looking at it in depth, I've used it for a month or so, and I've been very impressed with the fact that it is nutrigenomic catalyst, meaning that it repairs your genetics, repairs your DNA. And then there's 3 primary enzymes: superoxide dismutase, catalase, and glutathione peroxidase. Those are the top of the pyramid as far as enzymes for repairing your genetics. And that's the other thing that we have to be concerned about when we have a high background radiation, is making sure our genes stay on track and that they work. Because the way I have seen it, or the way I'm seeing it, is that your DNA with the telomere basically is an antenna for the light of creation. And the light of creation, and another way to say that, is this is the quantum matrix that causes all of our reality to hold together. But what happens is the telomere draws in the light of creation. It will infinitely compress that light and take all the instructions in your DNA to create you. And that's happening moment by moment by moment. So all we are, in essence, is compressed light, highly organized and mathematically precise. That's just the way the Creator works. That's how they roll up in there. All good. You know what I mean?
I love
it. Yeah, I just gave you the secret of creation, by the way. So what we want to do here is protecting our genetics is of key importance, because the high levels of background radiation are through the roof across the whole of our United States. There's no place you can run to, so we've got to deal with this until the special interest group give me permission to go in and shut this stuff off. Call your congressman, call somebody. We need to get this problem resolved now, not yesterday. Believe me, it is very, very, very important. And this right here, these products, I'm finding are extremely important to the solution of us holding on until we can get this challenge resolved. And the main ingredients, of course, that I liked was the broccoli, the superoxide dismutase, and when I saw chugga mushroom, I said, oh my God. Because I was very excited about that when I discovered that a few years ago. And I know that how hard that chugga mushroom works in order to do what it does. I mean, it's mostly grown in Siberia on birch trees, and it takes about 20 years for it to mature. And that poor birch tree, it just falls over after it's all done. But this thing has been clocked at somewhere around 219 different nutrients. That is a major pharmacopoeia, so whatever your body needs, oh, Chaga, you here? Oh, yes, let's go ahead and use what you got to offer. So I was very excited to see just that ingredient. This one here, which is an extract of turmeric. It is an excellent product for eliminating and controlling inflammation throughout your body, mind, and spirit. So you definitely want to take advantage of that. Okay. Now, this most of you have probably seen, but this is the adult and the kids version, and all I'm seeing the difference is it's just the kids get a smaller dose, which is good. And I'm finding some adults have to use the kids level, so because when I find out some people just can't handle the strength that this is providing, and this comes in handy, so take that into consideration. Now, this right here, you got to use this, because I'm saying this technology here that the QSET bioscalar signature system, which is used to hyper enhance these nutrients, is very, very important for actual genetic repair. And I've been fortunate enough to spend some hours in a system like this, and I really like it a lot. You know what I mean. What happened here? I'm not able to forward. I guess that's the last chart. I was hoping I would be able to share with you some of the readings that have come through the EPA, and there were about 99 cities across the United States that were reporting what they were reading as far as radiation. And the EPA does its readings in what they call counts per minute. And what I did was came up with an equation to kind of understand it from a Siebert's level, because that usually associates with biological systems. And in Colorado Springs, they were reporting something like 12,000 clicks per minute in Colorado Springs. And I said, this is ridiculous. That comes out to about 174 nanosieverts per hour. Wow. That's like you walking into the airport scanner all day long and doing nothing else. Oh my. And you know you ain't gonna last long if you are in something like that. And places like Los Angeles, we were experiencing, reporting something like 7,009 clicks per minute. That comes out to around 99 nanosieverts per hour. That accumulation is like you're getting a chest X-ray 3, 4, 5 times a day. You're not going to last long. So that's why it's so vitally important we become hyper vigilant about coming up with strategies for repairing and making sure that we survive until, again, they allow me to go over there and shut this stuff off. We do have the technology, so we don't have to run out of here with the hair on fire, oh no, we're gonna die. What I want you to understand is we just need to get the special interest people to understand that life is more important than profit. There is nothing more in the universe more important than life itself. That's the conclusion I have drawn about the rest of you. But that is what we got to deal with. That's what we've got to understand. And that's what we got to hold dear, is life, and how do we support it to whatever extent we can, as far as our soil, as far as our air, as far as our ocean. I think that God's put me here for that purpose. I'm here to serve it. I want to thank you so very, very much for your time. You're allowing me to